Hey, everybody. Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Riverman.
Dean, you want to know what my favorite things is?
Yes, I do.
I love when I can walk into a retail establishment or a hospitality establishment. There's a long line of people waiting to do something. And I walk right past them and go to a little self-service station and do it myself.
There you go.
I'm amazed by how
Do you
often
feel good when you're done?
Do.
It's like cleansing, right? It's like,
kind of is.
I just got
and
that
you'll get those
done.
looks from folks, you know, because you've already done everything you wanted to do and they're still waiting.
And
in
you're
line
whistling out the door and they are sitting there lamenting. Yes.
I don't get it. Sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, why? This was like I walked right up and did my thing. Why can't you?
Maybe they're not as professional as you are at the self-checkout.
Maybe not. I don't know what it is. So we're talking a little bit about self-service today.
Yes.
We've got a couple of our friends from Epson back on, David Vander, Dussen, Josh Stanphill.
Two good guys.
Talk a little bit about self-service, how it's changed retail and hospitality, and kind of how they've both been learning a little from each other and could stand learn a little bit more, maybe one end of each. We'll talk obviously about why we're in this position, why our self-service is such a big deal these days. I mean, I think we kind of know, but they're going to give us some probably better
a little
stats
bit of insight.
behind.
Yeah, stats,
exactly. We'll talk about what that means for label printing because obviously that's Epson's forte. So how does that fit into the self-service dialogue? We're going to talk about experiential retail. We're going to get into trends and what may be coming next. So we got lots of good stuff.
We got a lot to cover here. We got enough time, dude. We got.
I mean, it's our podcast.
We're good.
As long as
and Marco's not here.
Our producer's not even here. Yeah,
sweet.
So we literally can just go as much as we want. He's not here to
let's go
do the finger and tell us
That's right.
to keep. And by the way, the finger means like circling as in round up. I don't want to clarify that for anyone listening the audio only side. Although he's probably given us that finger more than once too. So all that plus our usual value to the VAR. What's TEConnecting with us? It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, as I mentioned, we have two returning guests today.
Yes, sir.
We've got David Vander Dussen. He is a product manager for Epson. Josh Stanphill, the ISV BDM for Epson. I'm not going to let you guys don't have to go through your whole histories. You've been on the podcast a few times now. We don't have to explain yourselves again. But we appreciate you both coming back on. And I think we had both of you on an episode together once before, but not in the same room. So this is the first time we got you guys in the same room. And we were just talking before we got on.
Their epic studio.
Yeah, they're showing off their epic studio. We've been trying to one-up it when we redesigned ours, and now apparently they've seen that as a gauntlet that's been thrown down to up there.
Real quick,
some more.
We don't have the resources Epson does, so they're always going to win this game.
That's true. We'll have to ask Epson to help fund our next studio project.
There you go.
Well, thanks so much for joining us again, guys. We appreciate it. I want to go ahead and just dive into this topic, though.
Yeah, let's do.
And, like I said, I love self-service. I think it's a great thing. I'm glad that more and more places are doing it, even though it doesn't seem like, again, sometimes people are as in tune to it as they should be. Now, obviously, the pandemic was a big part of this whole conversation.
For sure.
Why the need and desire for self-service increased when everyone wanted to stay away from each other.
Like we talked about, it kind of expedited a lot of stuff, right?
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of these things were being talked about, but man.
Exactly.
Now it's like full bore.
And I think, I think retail is where we saw that most obviously, but it has expanded into hospitality in quite a different ways too. So tell us a little bit about that. What's the impact on hospitality in particular when it comes to self-service?
Yeah, no, great to be back. It's one of those changes, right? As we come out of the pandemic, now Josh and I can do this in the same room, which is a lot more fun, better experience for us, and hopefully comes into the content. But the self-service point is a really interesting study, because I'm the same way. If I can go to a kiosk, even without a line, sometimes I'll go to the kiosk and order that way. And we're not really alone in that. As surveys have come out and trying to see how preferences change, where people are falling after the pandemic, over 40% of people say they prefer ordering from a kiosk. And as you look at the generational split, the younger you go, the higher that number gets. And if you look at Gen Z specifically, 2/3 of Gen Zers prefer to order from a kiosk than from the counter and from a person. So it's certainly, a preference I share. You do as well. I mean, I know talking with Josh, he likes going up to the kiosk too. But yeah, it's certainly something that's growing for those orders that are being taken in store, in restaurant. It's even a preferred option, not just an alternate now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting. The other side of it is the consumer side, and whether you choose or feel comfortable using a kiosk, like you had stated earlier, whether you actually know that the kiosks exist and get out the door in front of everyone. It sort of feels like I have insider secrets happening when I know at Target where the self-checkout is, and it's completely on the opposite end of all the other checkouts.
Yep.
So, it feels that people are becoming more comfortable with kiosks. The products interfaces are becoming easier to use. And so I would bet that it's probably here to stay for a while.
Yeah.
I would think so. And I'll throw on the table another thing that keeps getting talked about here is labor shortage, right? So not only did COVID, but COVID kind of exacerbated the whole labor shortage issue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so now, a lot of companies are faced with, we have to. We don't have any other choice.
Yeah.
We can't find people to work.
We've got 6 checkout lanes and 3 people. I mean, something's got to give,
Right? So something's got to give there. So the labor shortage has definitely had an impact to the positive on the self-service kiosk front, if you will. And then you're starting to see a little bit more integration of some other technology, such as chatbots and voice assistants and stuff like that. And so it's interesting that you bring up, David, around, the Gen Z adaptation, right? 60 some odd percent, close to 70% say they would rather or prefer to use that. That's a game changer, right? I mean, when you've got that much of the population, it's like, here I am in the old school. Yeah, I'd rather whatever, cashier, how's your day, that kind of stuff. No, Gen Z, they just want in and out.
Well, we had that retail or that restaurant hospitality survey thing that we did on BlueStar Nation a few months back.
That's
and
right.
One of the questions we were asking about stuff like QR codes. We were asking about kiosks and digital signage, in particular, like what are all these cool things that you guys are, using? Are you still utilizing that? And a lot of folks may have said, like, no, we're not doing it at all. Or they said, we did use it. We had to during the pandemic. We've stopped now. And sometimes when we ask for the reasons, some of the folks said, oh, it's because we have an older clientele, an older generation. Like, guess what? You're not going to have that forever.
Yeah, no, right.
That older generation is going to get replaced at some point, unless you plan on shutting down when the boomers are gone, You're going to have to cater to a younger generation, and they are going to want this newer technology, and they're going to walk into your particular business and say, "Man, these guys aren't up to date. I'm going to take my business somewhere else." So, David, we add on a little bit. You sent over a note with some of your stats, and you talked a little bit about the QSR drive-through versus the actual counter sales. Talk through us a little bit more about how that's changed too.
Yeah, this is one that I found really interesting because anecdotally, go into restaurants, I see more kiosks, doing more ordering directly from my phone for even another type of self-service. And I didn't know where it was coming from. I knew that I wasn't going up to the counter as much, but found a study, the drive-through. The number one way QSRs were getting orders was through the drive-through. And it was about 2/3 of them, give or take a few percentages before the pandemic. Spiked way up to 90% for some parts during the pandemic, which makes perfect sense, right? You couldn't go in. But as we come out of the pandemic, drive-through has returned to almost the same level. So all of those shifts seem to be happening in other order-taking methods. And the biggest loser of those methods, if you will, or the biggest shift in share is away from counter ordering. Was about 30% before the pandemic, fallen to about 15% after the pandemic, right? So people they may be coming back to the store or back to the restaurant, but they're not coming back to the counter. And it's not taking away from drive-through. That has remained about the same. So where the growth is happening, kiosk a big one, right? I think quadrupled from before the pandemic, which still a relatively small overall portion of the orders in this data, but growing very rapidly. And, with the hardware investment that has to go along with it, makes sense that you can't immediately jump up to a massive percentage of the orders. So mobile, kiosk, and then the third-party delivery was also incorporated in there, but kiosk was one of the biggest gainers. And it's kind of the experience we're talking about with self-service, whether that's kiosk or something that else we wanted to bring up was, is it a kiosk? Is it a smaller kiosk? Is it your own device that you're providing the self-service from? But it does seem to be taking it from the counter ordering portion of the business that existed before the pandemic did.
Yeah. On my way in today, I was listening to something about Alaska Airlines, and kind of a wild thing with them is they just released that they're pulling all of their kiosks and they're moving to mobile devices, all consumer devices. And, it's sort of kind of parlayed into some other thoughts that I've been having, which is, why aren't we using more mobile devices in some of this? Like, we did a lot during COVID. Now commercially, kiosks are being installed and less mobile devices being used in a lot of this. And for me, walking into a store, if there's a line and the kiosks are full, or there's not a kiosk, if there was an option to order from my phone, my guess is a lot of people would take that option without having to have an app.
Yeah, it's curious how mobile is, encroaching in all this, the whole area.
Yeah.
Like, I guess there's some markets that will probably just skip the whole kiosk self-service entirely and move that direction too.
Could be.
Because again, it makes sense because you're talking about, any of the last 3 generations are pretty comfortable with mobile phones and mobile devices at this point. We've all probably got one in our pocket for the most part.
We got issues though. Go ahead.
You don't think so?
Oh, no. Here's the issue that I got as we were talking about this. I'm already. So what I have noticed is anytime the baby boom generation really hasn't adapted even to the kiosk. So, but we as a society still have to deal with it. Here's my use case. So I was at a Starbucks at an airport, and they only took orders via kiosk. And one kiosk was tied up by grandma and grandpa who literally could not get their order through.
You still have to have the personal
15
option,
minutes. So, Well,
I'm not saying like you just forego any potential face-to-face for now.
Yeah.
You'd still have to have that.
Right.
But I could see the path to saying like, well, why are we bothering with the kiosk if you're planning to make that some kind of an upgrade?
No,
when you can go straight to the
it's such
mobile.
a commentary on what Josh is saying and David are saying, in the sense that all the Gen Zs had already placed their order on their app. They're just waiting at the end for theirs. Here I am, the Gen Xer, that I use the touchscreen kiosk, and then you got the boomers gumming the whole thing up.
They're all waiting in line.
It was just a commentary on the
Yeah.
the generational commentary.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, but there's opportunity as well, David. Right? You had some opportunities that you found here as well.
No, and we look at the self-service, the growth of as they get younger, they want to use kiosks more. The kiosk is growing, counter orders are shrinking. Yeah, that's still 16% of the business going through counter order. I'm not prepared to throw away 1/6 of my orders by not taking care of that experience as well. But yeah, the opportunity, and that's talking with Josh here, a lot of our conversations, especially around the Epson products, we don't just want it to be, well, you have to do this because your customer demanded it, and kicking or screaming, you're going to go in there. There's usually, it can be a win-win. We can give a beneficial or a preferred experience to the customer, but that can also come back for the restaurant or the merchant in a better way. And one of the big ways with kiosks is ticket sizes, right? So another thing Josh and I were talking about, and as we kind of built up to this, there was a lot of research and reports being done on kiosk and self-service prior to the pandemic, identifying it as a big growth area that was coming in a few years. Little did we know how key it would be. But as we go back and review some of those, a lot of them are ringing very true as we come back out of the pandemic. So one that we found, the survey was done in 2019, so just before the pandemic, and even before it was required. Almost 2/3 people said they were more willing to visit a restaurant if a kiosk was an option. And then in that same study, the ticket sizes for kiosk orders were 12 to 20% higher than they were at the counter, right? So this is for those people who want to go to the kiosk, their ticket sizes are also larger than those who are sticking with the counter. And, I know Josh had some thoughts about why that is.
No, I mean, obviously I think probably the biggest cases that we've seen in the market has been McDonald's and some others in that world really jumping into this. And a lot of the studies around that have been that what it does is increase revenue in every sale, basically. It doesn't matter. It could be adding an extra modifier to it. It does a real nice job prompting for additional add-ons. it never fails in that sense, that it is constantly trying to upsell. And if it knows a little bit about you, it can also personalize some things. And for me, that's one of the gaps maybe right now in kiosks are, how do you recognize me as your customer or a repeat customer, and, without me logging in or, and so I think that area, there's a little bit of a gap in that. Should be able to walk into a store, easily identify myself on it, and then maybe it suggests based on what I've ordered. And there are some that do a really good job once they know who you are.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, I see it as one of the biggest areas of potential value add.
Yes.
Is making it not just a touchscreen menu, but something that's interacting with the guest and guiding them based on what you know about them or the historical, oh, you ordered this, you might like this. Did you know about this new item? Did you know about this promotion? And, and then we go back to the labor constraint. You program it into a kiosk, you're going to get that path every time. Doesn't get forgotten, doesn't veer off into one thing or another. It's a consistent experience that you can craft and learn from and improve over time.
Yeah, it's not talking about last night's party or
right.
whatever.
Doesn't get distracted.
It's actually trying to upsell you on. Go ahead, Josh.
Not sleepy.
Yeah. No, I don't know. The kiosk world is interesting because when we look at it, it really is just a channel to sell. And it doesn't matter whether it's through your app, through your website, through a point of sale terminal. I think to create a real good scenario in this is going back to the labor shortage or labor challenges in general. A point of sale can easily be turned over to be a kiosk in the moment that you're in your slower hours. And so, something that I read is, a lot of restaurants, they might have peaks from like 11 to 2 or something like that. And then, but they have, they might have staff on board, and a lot of the scheduling software companies help you, set the schedules for your staff. And having a point of sale that can then turn around and be your kiosk in those moments. Yeah. To me, that's a real good way to use your resources and to overcome some of the labor challenges.
Josh, let's dive in a little bit on the personalization. I'd like to get your take on this because, as I think that is a mover in the marketplace, but I agree with you on the gap, right? Like there's just that gap right now when I walk up to, let's say, a QSR, it doesn't know me, it doesn't know my order and stuff like that. And if they integrated something that it was capturing PII, that would be really creepy, right? I mean, that'd be like,
welcome
hey,
back,
Dean, welcome back. It's like, what, dude? How did you know who I am, right?
Do you want the extra cheese again?
Yeah. If in that voice, I'd be all in. But anyway, so that's going to be creepy. But I have found as a consumer, I'm okay if I give them a loyalty card or buzz in to the system. Then I kind of expect it. Like, oh, dude, you ordered this last time. Is this what you want?
Exactly.
So do you think that's where it's going to go, Josh? It's like a self-induced personalization experience because I gave it a little data so it can feed back to me, that information?
I think so. I mean, the part for me that's the challenge is how do you bridge that gap? Is it walking up to something with your phone and you have a QR code that goes across an array of kiosk providers or brands that you opt into? But it does feel that there needs to be some type of identifier in that. And, for me, it doesn't feel like the kiosks that I've used, that they're always faster.
No.
There's times where I do feel that it might take a couple more minutes through a kiosk. You're learning the menu. It may not be as intuitive if you're not a regular there. Knowing me resolves a lot of that and cuts out a lot of that speed. So
good point.
Yeah, but to your point though, when you get down to loyalty programs and stuff, you're getting to that old problem that no one ever wants to have, carrying around a bunch of cards or having a bunch of different things on your phone that's got to be scanned. Yeah. So I like your idea of maybe we just have some kind of cross code of some sort or whatever that works with a bunch of different types of kiosks, or because let's be honest, that's why a lot of us do the app experience, because
that's right.
You've already got that personalization built into your personal app that you're using on your phone. But when you go to that kiosk, it can be a little difficult to replicate that, where you kind of got to start from scratch with something that just doesn't really know you that well at that point. So well then let's talk a little bit about the idea of self-service and bypassing the counter. Let's get a little further into that. Now, what we need to know, obviously, who gets what. So especially like, again, if you're at a restaurant or maybe you are ordering something at a retailer that has to get put together in the back and brought out to you or something like to that effect. How does that affect things? How does that affect label printing, obviously? Because that's Epson's wheelhouse there. And you've got to be able to tell people like, hey, here's your stuff. This is for you, and this is what you ordered.
Yep.
We've got to have good printing to do that. So talk to us a little bit about the label printing side of things when it comes to self-service.
Jump into this one because, people who have been seeing me, they know I get a little excited about labels. But it's a great point because it's what are you getting? Is everything there? And is every item correct within that? And, whether it starts from the counter, whether it comes in from a kiosk, whether it comes in online, they're feeding into often the same kind of production line, whether it's in the back of the restaurant, whether it's a fulfillment area in a retail store. And it's got to be accurate, it's got to be quick, it's got to be efficient. And so as you look at a restaurant example, that order coming in, multiple items, maybe they're prepared in different parts of the kitchen, each one of those getting a cost-effective label that can follow that product through the preparation, and then the order, that's the word I'm looking for, not order completion, putting everything together.
The efficiency.
At the end, yeah. Putting everything there. So you have those checkpoints for multiple times through the process for that little check on accuracy. Okay, so this order came in, and at this point, as you're preparing it, you don't mind if it came in through the drive-through window, if it came in through the counter, if it came in through self-service, right? But all of those do complicate things if you're dealing with them separately. So you take all of those entry points, put them into the one production line, labels that provide an extra point to check for the accuracy as you go through, and then also easily identify what's going with the order, right? So at that point, when you've got that in place, in the production line, you're indifferent where the order came from.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's supposed to happen with that item. You know exactly how many items are going to be a part of this at the end. You can easily check to make sure that all of the items from the order are in place. But then again, similar point to the kiosk needing to not just be a touchscreen menu, right? A label is not just a sticky piece of the receipt, right? A little bit more formatting, a little bit thought and guidance from the person who's integrating, the person who's selling the solution, to make sure that they're calling out information that is relevant to it. It goes a long way in improving the employee experience with that and lowering the learning curve, right? So we have the labor constraint. We also have high turnover. Everything we can do to lower the learning curve, shorten the amount of training that's needed, provides an additional benefit on that side as well.
Yeah.
Like even putting things like, 5 years ago, there wouldn't be DoorDash or an online ordering company name on one of these, but today it's sort of crucial. And I think what's happened in the market, even outside of what we've done, just liner-free labeling and hospitality in general has really started at the top and is working its way down very quickly. And, just because there's more channels now, it gets a little bit more complicated. Like, how do I find my order very quickly? There's things like customer queues on TVs or screens inside of a lot of these places. And all of these are just to keep you informed. It's very similar to like you do an order on Amazon, you get every notification humanly possible. And even after it arrives, you get a picture, so I think that's what's been happening in hospitality is they've been able to really clean up a lot of that. And David had talked about this earlier. The interesting thing about retail, at least us feeling like retail technology had been in the lead for so long. And then, omni-channel and, all these other buzzwords that were a part of it. But what happened in the last few years? It feels like hospitality has been the one that has had just a complete redo of basically everything. The lead point of sale providers today are very different than what they were 5 years ago. Everything, liner free, KDS, kiosks. It's really sort of come, back to where 2023 is, or where they should be.
And obviously, digital print has had a part in that revolution too, right? I mean, the ability to easily do some of these things. Okay, so I got a label guy and an ISV guy. What is your take on like machine vision? You were kind of going down that path, David, with the quality control, and I can totally see that. Like in a, let's just say, a pizzeria environment where one station gets the pizza, the other station gets the pasta, and so that's two different orders, two different labels, go on two different bags and boxes. But we're hearing that machine vision could be brought in for quality control. Okay, both of these items are now complete. There's a camera that scanned it, and obviously it has to read it from the label, right? That's been printed off. So are you guys getting into some of that stuff? Are you starting to work with some of these software partners that are in that machine vision AI world? And if so, I mean, just what's your comment there?
So I've worked with a couple companies that are doing machine learning, mainly on kiosks, not specific to hospitality in itself, but it's all, I think even in the grocery space, NCR talked about it recently on a podcast of using, machine vision to really just identify a product. You don't even need a barcode anymore.
Oh, they're all doing that. That was all over NRF.
And so, the one that I was familiar with, you could throw up to like 12 items at one time, and within like a second, it would tell you your total and you pay. And so, and they go as far as even doing weights and, looking at a plate, and it's very, very interesting. So I think, having to scan or pick up a barcode scanner everywhere you go and, those types of things, it does feel that it's going to work its way into more image-based recognition.
Yeah. Josh is more on the forefront of the actual collaboration with a lot of those companies. A trend we're watching, sure, and it's on the hardware manufacturer side, on the label side. We can send the print job to be whatever it needs to be to effectively work in there, but I haven't been on the forefront of that in the same way Josh has.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
I'm seeing more and more complex label, more and more personalization to the label, those types of things.
Yeah, the personalization part, that's the part that I'm always interested in because, Josh, you mentioned the idea of like how, like just like having DoorDash labeling, on something. So did you know that it came from, that's just branding and marketing right there. It's like the consumer, you may not think, well, I don't really care too much about this. And the restaurant, they probably don't care as long as they've sold their food. But, that's very important to someone like DoorDash, that when it's at your door, that labeling reminds you, hey, this was DoorDash that brought this to you on time and piping hot. And even though it's not their food that they're making, you're making that, association
their
where
service.
You have a strong association between what DoorDash did in bringing it to you and how good that food was. Believe it or not, I mean, whether you like it or not, or whether they like it or not, they get associated with it. And I'm sure that frustrates the restaurants, but it's still important to be able to do that. And I think that also kind of bleeds into the idea of being able to add extra personalization and branding and just make someone feel like that order is for them and about them. Because again, I think that's the, you sometimes on the self-service side of things, you miss some of those little personalized touch points that you might otherwise get when you go into hospitality where,
that's what I'm saying.
You've got a nice server and a great experience or whatever. You miss a little bit of that on that, that if you're just walking in and picking up a bag and going to go. But if that bag has your name on it and says, thanks so much, have a great day, or it's got something colorful on it, even if it's just something generic they're doing for practically everyone, it's a different feeling than here's your food.
Here's your food.
That's it. So
here's the ticket that I wrote on.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the scribble that I made that may or may not be your name, so
with the anyway. Yeah.
Well, okay, so then let's go down the rabbit hole there a little further then. So we've talked about that idea obviously of finding a way to introduce additional touch points to make the experience of hospitality a little better. But let's get into that on the retail side there too, because I think retail can learn something from hospitality here. And you start hearing people talking about experiential retail. Yeah, the idea of that it's not about just walking into a store and picking up what you want and walking out. That's it. Or you gotta buy it first before you walk out. But it's not just about that anymore. It's supposed to be an experience. It's supposed to be something that's engaging and really connecting with you. So I want to know from you guys, what does experiential retail mean to you, and how do we from the hardware and software side of things when we're working with retailers, how do we help them enable that?
When I think of experiential retail, it's not just the endless aisle of products, right? I'm not in a store because I want to see 1,000 different options for this one item that I'm looking for. I can find that online. And it's taking advantage of what you can do in person when you control the entire environment, when you have them in your store that you've crafted. And you mentioned one of the key points. It's about engagement. It's not necessarily solely about the sale. It's about engaging the customer. We're crafting that experience right there that gives them something they can't find in online or self-service, and uses the environment, the retail environment, as another engagement tool, as another sales tool to set the experience apart of being in the store and not just being about the transaction. Right.
So, my thoughts are, I think from the moment you walk into a door, what are you feeling throughout that entire journey? And does that brand understand what that journey is? Do you walk in and immediately see security equipment, a security kiosk? A lot of the retailers have sort of gone away from stores that were just aisles all over the place and now building little unique areas. And for me, like, that certainly improves the customer experience, because if you're looking for, like Best Buy, for example, you're looking for smart home devices, this is where they are. And they're all displayed in a way that actually feels more like home. And they're bringing, woods. And so I look at the experience more from like an emotional perspective, but I also think that there's a lot of technology that is doing a lot of the work on the back end to make it, feel seamless when you go into it. Like David and I talked about, you order something online. Well, now you get to choose what happens. Does it ship to you? Do you pick it up at your local store and it might take a day or two to get to it? Do you pick it up at the nearest, or like the nearest store that has it in stock? You have every option on the planet, not to mention afterwards, maybe you want it delivered to your house after you pay for it, when that really only happened in furniture before. Yeah. And so, for me, it's the emotional tie-in and the connection to that brand. And do they understand that they have a brick and mortar location? Then is it driving me to come back in there to have another positive experience?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, there are some that have been, a very experiential selling experience for a long time. I think of home theater speakers, right? I can't evaluate a home theater speaker by listening to it through a separate set of speakers. You've got to be in there and hear it yourself, and then you start
Casper.
The mattresses, right? I know online ordering of mattresses is going through the roof and it's been growing, but I still would like to know what it's going to feel like when I lie down on them. And the point Josh is making is, we were looking at this. Casper mattresses created a great one, right? You go into their store, you can lie on the mattress, you can go through that experience of it, but they also created sleeping pods that you can essentially rent for a nap. But of course, you're in a Casper store, you've got their mattress, you've got their pillows, you've got their sheets, everything that will go into what they hope is your best nap ever came from their brand. So if you want that same experience at home, well, you better take it with you.
So my experience was a little different. I shopped for mattresses for a while. I went into a store and they just basically asked me to lay down on all these mattresses with a pillow in front of everybody. And it felt awkward. So to me,
how's that working out for you, Josh?
Yeah, I didn't buy that mattress, but I think that the interesting tie-in on the experience side is that Casper understood maybe that there's some insecurities about people laying down in a store. And if you could go privately and do that, that maybe you could get, a sale at the end of the day and get a customer.
It all ties back to that, just that personalization, right? And we've talked a lot about this, about how retail establishments are pouring money into the experience, because that's what we want. We want to have something more than the online experience when we do these types of things. So it's critical. But I still think, and we've talked ad nauseum about, making the workforce mobile so that you can engage and getting the your attendees out into the show floor so that they can be engaging and stuff like that. So there are technology enablements, but I am going to pull it back back to like the labeling. I mean, if you're going to go through all this effort to do an experience in your store, wrap it up with a little personalization at the end, you know, with a label on the bag that says, hey, Dean, thanks for shopping. And, you know, here's what's in there, whatever it is. There's ways that you can bring that personalization to the experience, the experiential retail by enabling that, those types of technologies.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and I think, again, just when you go back to the idea of the whole, what do you learn from hospitality? There's a big difference between, let's say your favorite restaurant's got some of the best food you ever got. Okay, you can go there and you can order something or place an order online or go to a kiosk, whatever, and get, you know, the best meal you've ever had stuck into a styrofoam dish that you then have to take home, and by the time you get home or by the time it's delivered to you, it's cooled off a little. Yeah. Maybe you got to warm it up. Some of the sauce is kind of bled into something else a little bit, or it's gotten a little bit soggy, or maybe the asparagus isn't as crisp as it would have been in the restaurant. Yeah. It's a different feeling. And then when not only that, but you also then you don't get all the other cool ambiance that like a restaurant tries to engender. You know, hey, here's the mood, and we've set the lighting, and there's cool music and nice decorations. I think people understand that difference, and they get the idea that like, yeah, going into the restaurant is a different feel than what I'm going to get ordering the same food at home most of the time. Okay. I think you can do that same thing in retail. I think that's what this is all about. For sure. It's this idea of like, look, sure, you can buy everything we've got here online and have it dropped to your house in a box. And sure, you can pop that box up and get that mattress out and let it unfold for a couple hours and, you know, slowly swell out or whatever and sleep on it and try it out there. And yeah, sure, we've got this whole, you know, you can try it out for 60 days and send it back if you want to. I'm sure that's a hassle too.
Yeah, try to cram it back into a box.
Exactly. Why do all of that when you could instead have, hey, here's this fantastic place where you can come to where it's not just the old standard furniture stop where we're going to just harass you the whole time and ask you a million questions. So, you can come in and try things out.
So if I hear you correctly, you're advocating retail that also includes food. So
let's do it.
Do you guys go to Costco? The best one here is Costco. Do you guys go to Costco at all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the only time my family will go to Costco is on Sundays when they have all the samples. And they know they have the samples out. I can get the whole family to go to Costco.
Or just even like their hot dogs and pizza.
Oh, dude, they just walk around,
lunch
bro.
There
They're like,
and then,
they're just walking around. They come out full because they don't care what the sample. I'm like, you would never eat that Chobani, whatever, flaxseed and whatever. But they're going to take the sample if they got it. Yeah.
You're not going to buy it, but you'll take the sample. Yeah.
And Costco, as everybody knows, on Sunday is jammed. You cannot get in that place.
That's actually an interesting thing is I personally worked on a project with Costco, and they added a kiosk in there into the area where you buy all Apple products. And their thing was, in that realm, it wasn't necessarily about you ordering it, paying for it, you know, and I think that the definition of a kiosk is not that it just takes a transaction and takes a payment, right? It could be a variety of things.
Oh, sure. Information, right, yeah.
Yeah, you print off things at the airport on a kiosk that, you know, are just bag tags. So,
there's all the different ways you can go. And, you know, we've been talking about examples like mattresses, speakers, things that are really easy to say, yeah, that's better in a store, right? I can't experience lying on a mattress online. But it's certainly not limited to some of those big ticket items. It's, you know, if someone's going to come in to a location in person, right, to shop for anything from big ticket items down to, you know, even a coffee thermos would be another example. They're looking for something they can't get just by reading copy online and looking at pictures. Right, and it's going to be very different depending on the product that they're going in, who your target audience is. So there's a lot of personalization in crafting that experience and then finishing it, maybe with a label. Right, an Epson label would be a great choice.
That's what I'm advocating.
Right, but going back to what Josh was saying about now you can have all these different fulfillment ones, right? So you've crafted their experience, you've controlled it, you've presented it in the best way. They're very engaged with it. They're going to take a piece home. A piece is going to be shipped later. You give them that full summary and a nice personalized label. They know exactly what's going to come, when it's going to come, how their experience is being completed. It's that thought that the experience continues until the final delivery, which is one that I think we can learn from hospitality.
Yeah.
You look at the delivery example that we've been using, it goes into a styrofoam container. At this point, we know that a styrofoam container isn't the best way to deliver your food if you're really concerned about the quality of it there. So I think it's easy to make the connection to some of the big ticket items, but it rolls down all the way. And, we built this entire room on the exact concept of we have to provide the experience. Right? If you're looking at taking a receipt printer from Epson, it's not enough for us to just say, it prints very fast, it's very reliable, it's going to stand in there. It's much more effective for us to be able to show it in an environment that we've crafted here. And it also has the add-on capabilities that we were bringing up in self-service and kiosk. Hey, this is how you take the order in a hospitality one, and you print off the receipt. Isn't that fantastic? You know about that. Oh, but by the way, we have a live environment set up where we can show you everything else we do that goes into that order flow. Right? Same thing can be done in a retail space. Oh, you're looking at a coffee thermos here. Well, we have some for you to try that are sanitized here. Let's get you an actual coffee. Oh, if you're taking this with something else, wouldn't you need a lunch bag or whatever these things you can add on, but not in a impulse buy, put everything in front of the customer and see what sticks, but thoughtful, engaging customer path that you're controlling with what you know and what you've set up to, improve their experience, but also drive the basket sizes up.
It's like entertaining them to a sale.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, it goes again right back to your Costco point there.
Yep.
It's you go into a Costco it's a bulk grocery store essentially.
Yep.
That's it. Yep. If you just distill it down to what it is, that's all it is. Yep. But it's that experience you get of like, 100%. Hey, there's all kinds of cool samples to get. There's there's the little restaurant thing they'll have. Yep. They might have other little fun stuff.
Which still amazes me how many people eat at that restaurant.
Oh, it's good food.
Dude, it's packed all the time.
It is. It's good though. And it's cheap. It's good and cheap. Yeah.
Good and cheap. Yeah.
There's probably some margin in those hot dogs.
I'm sure. Well, you can always sell something for $1.50 these days. Like you must be getting one heck of a margin. It must be like a penny a piece to make those things. Yeah. It's like McDonald's. I mean, they always talk about that. Like their drinks,
drinks
it's
for
like
nothing. Yeah.
It's like a penny for every drink. And it's almost all pure profit they make off of every soda.
That's exactly
they sell,
it.
So.
Liquid gold.
Exactly. That's why they will upsell you all day on those things. So, well, so okay, we've obviously talked about this trend of self-service. That one good trend usually leads to another one. Mm-hmm. So, where do you think self-service is taking us? What's next? What else is that affecting in our channel? And and maybe if there are other places where you think that label printing is going to fit into the next iteration of what happens.
I'd like to put a memo out there for all retailers and restaurateurs.
Memo from Josh.
Yeah. If you have kiosks, you should let people use them. If it's a self-service kiosk, it's important to let people actually use it. And so it's been very interesting in this world that there's this love-hate relationship. You deploy a bunch of kiosks and then you man it with an employee that's actually using the kiosk to check you out. Or we don't have enough staff at, like I'd shop at maybe I shouldn't say the name, shop at a nice grocery store around my house. They have 4 kiosks. If they don't have personnel to manage the kiosks, they just shut them down. And it's like, it seems baffling to me that you make that investment. Obviously, customers want that. You should never shut a kiosk down.
Yeah.
So,
it's.
I had to get that off my chest.
It's a great one.
I had it at the bottom of my paper. Closed kiosks.
There's nothing more frustrating. You walk in, you look over there, and you see the kiosk, and you look at them wistfully, and they're like, "Nope, sorry, can't use this."
Yeah. And I might want to use it. It's kind of fun sometimes to try it out. If you're into this world and in this industry, you do want to interact and see what they're like. Does it have audio? Do I want this? If I'm at CVS, do I want this read off, whatever I'm buying? There's a lot of different, variables with that. And it comes down to the experience.
Mm-hmm. No, it does. And, one of the things I'm watching with self-service, I'm going to expand it a bit beyond kiosk, is how it does impact not necessarily the labor constraint, but changes when the peaks of labor are required.
Yep.
Right. So if you know you have a rush hour in the same time every day, and you were scheduling so you had enough cashiers to get people through as quickly as you could. Now you have the option, whether it's a large installed kiosk like we've been talking about, like the option Josh was talking about, where you convert a point of sale station into self-service during those times. You know, the labor you have then can be reallocated into its most impactful point, right? It's no longer we have to schedule here.
Yeah.
It is most effective to schedule here, right? And so as that labor gets redeployed a bit, how does that impact the extra steps or the extra personalization we're able to put into fulfillment? Do those fulfillment times come down because instead of taking orders, we're fulfilling orders from a retail location or pick and packing from the shelves themselves? And, you know, when you move some of those activities away from the customer's eyes, maybe you have some opportunity to put in some more automation and efficiency. So maybe this is where the AI is coming in and pulling some from the warehousing activities into the retail stores and seeing those lines blur even further. And, you know, I do think being able to smooth the order taking labor requirement need, so it's not spiking in such dramatic ways, is going to be one of the things that contributes to that growing as well.
It is interesting, you know, when you think about it, where is self-service taking? I got a couple stats to throw at you guys. 67% of customers reported that they prefer self-service options over speaking to a customer representative. So, you know, I think that there's still, I think David's point is valid on redeploying associates, you know, as this comes into the marketplace, but you're already the trend is there that most customers would rather, I know you've been there for a long time. You were an early adopter on that. But this also, and you and I talk about this a lot, 59% of customers said that they believe companies need cutting-edge technologies to provide the best customer experience, right? You got to have good tech in your store.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And people know that. If you walk into a low-tech environment, it's like, no, this is a low-tech environment. What am I doing here? I don't want to be here. I want to be where it's cool.
Yeah.
Or there's free food samples, one of the two.
There you go.
Well, that helps too. Yeah, you can be as low tech as you want as long as you have some good food to get.
That's it. Anyway, that's what I'll close on.
Take it any day. But, you know, I think too, like, you know, the whole idea of payments too. And we're always talking about payment flexibility and where payment options are. I think the more we keep moving down this self-service path, the easier it's going to be for payment flexibility to become a thing across a bunch of industries. Because no two people pay the same way anymore. Hardly. And if you're any kind of establishment, retail, hospitality, whatever, that wants to limit the amount of payment options you have, whether it's to just like, no, we'll only take cash and credit, or an actual card, or we will
no Amex.
Exactly. Right. No Amex, no Discover card, stuff
Crypto?
like that. Does Discover even exist anymore? I don't know. Exactly. But I mean, if you have to have those options, you've got to be able to expand out. And I think this is a nice pathway to that, because if you're going to offer self-service, you've also got to be ready for the folks that are coming in saying, all right, I want the self-service, but I also want to pay my way. I want to be able to get my watch out and pay for it. I want to pull my phone out.
You know what I found interesting? Because I was in a rather large home improvement location that redid their...
I feel like you're glossing over the name here.
No, actually, it doesn't really matter. But what I found about their new kiosk, which was fascinating, because they'll take any payment there, right?
Right.
But the cash option, bro, it is bigger than the entire self-service.
100%.
It's like, I need this compartment for bills, this compartment for change. Who's paying for change? Who does that anymore? I don't know.
So
but they have to accommodate for it, right? And then, like, the actual kiosk it's just a little thing over here. You know?
I know 100% what you're talking, and it actually engages every time, whether you're making a cash payment or not.
Oh, wow.
And so you have all this noise, and I'm like, is something going to shoot out at me?
What's going on here? Yeah.
I'm just buying some nails.
I didn't steal anything. Yeah. Click, clank.
It feels like an ATM machine.
It does.
Yep.
Dude, that's it. Anyway.
Which were the first kiosks, essentially.
Yeah.
For
sure.
You know, I think too, like, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of these like regional media networks popping up because of self-service.
For sure.
Because again, if you're wanting that customization, you're
That's
wanting
right
that
at the point of sale.
personalization.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to be able to still engage people. The folks like me and the Josh who want to go into a store and just like, look, I don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to look at anyone.
Yeah.
You stay 40 feet away from me. And it's not because of COVID. It's just because I just don't like people, or I just don't like interacting with that many people. Like if you're that person, that you still want to engage with that person somehow.
Oh, for sure.
And if you're offering up those regional media
to your point,
networks,
the
and stuff
retail
like that,
media
that'll do it.
network, dude, if I'm in my home improvement, I would be the bourbon store down the street that would run the ad that goes something like this: "Hey, this whatever project might not turn out, so stop by and get a bourbon so you can cool off."
It's just a paid job. Have a glass of bourbon with
There
it.
you
Yeah.
go, dude. My bourbon sales would go straight through the roof.
I like it.
Anyway.
All right, good stuff. Well, hey, before we get to our value to the VAR, which is our way of kind of wrapping up this conversation a little bit for our VAR audience, I want to, as always, thank our TEConnect sponsors. Big thanks to Epson. They are a premium TEConnect
Epson.
sponsor of our
Way to
program.
go.
So we appreciate them and lending these two gentlemen to us today to talk to us about this topic. As always, if you like the show, we need to hear from you. Leave us a review. Give us a rating. Like and subscribe anywhere that you find us.
Smash the subscribe. Come
Tell
on.
somebody about the show. Send your topics to us. There's always a link in the show notes where you can type in a topic that you want to hear about. So maybe you've heard this
And
discussion.
Do they still get a shirt if
They still get a shirt,
right?
yeah. Angie tells me we're running low on the shirts, but we can order more.
We can order more.
So
Yeah,
we'll,
for sure.
we'll make sure.
Maybe
there's
we'll
more
come
out
out
there.
with V2.0 on the
There
shirt.
you go.
Right?
Maybe
Yeah.
I could do a new design. You could be one of the first to get the new TEConnect
There you go.
podcast design. I
Yeah,
don't know.
nice.
I'm promising things that I don't know if we're going to do or not.
All right.
That's what I do.
That's what you do.
Producers aren't there.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no one's here to tell us no right now. So submit your ideas to us. We want to know what you want on the show. And as always, follow BlueStar on LinkedIn. We're always posting recaps of the show and other interesting stuff there. And if you need to get in touch with us, you can always find us on Twitter at TEConnectPod or email us TEConnect@BlueStarInc.com. All right, let's wrap things up here first with our value to the VAR.
Yes.
Again, this is our way of kind of wrapping up the conversation, a takeaway for our VARs. And I want to talk a little bit about where Epson plays here, obviously,
Yep,
and
yep.
where you guys fit into the self-service discussion. So what are you guys doing differently to help meet these new needs that are coming out of retail and hospitality? Where do you fit in, and what are you offering out there that can really help our VARs win some of the business for folks that want to move in this direction, but they aren't quite sure how to get there?
There are a couple things that from Epson we insist on making consistent across all the products, right? You look at the ease of integration with all the different operating systems, the breadth of products we have, the proven track record of them. And we're creating products specifically for this self-service growing area. Right, we have products like the EUM30, which is designed to go directly into kiosks. We have products like the M32SL, which can function either as self-service or as more of a traditional terminal for it. So there's so much flexibility in the products that we're bringing to crafting that order experience, right? And they're all, engineered by Epson for reliability. They have the leading performance that we have there. And they're, because they're using a lot of the same integration tools, it's easy to expand the certified offerings that the VARs can provide. And then once you get to the back of the house, then, we can come into some of the labeling that Epson is really pushing some of the boundaries on. We can bring the liner free in to help with that efficiency. We can bring the color labels to pump up the certification there. I think it's one of Epson's unique positioning here is that we can help you with the front of store. We can help you with the self-service. There's going to be consistencies in the experience of working with our products from the front to the back of the store so that it provides the VAR the flexibility then to go in and talk to their customer, say, these are the right solutions we need for this location. Yeah. And then I have a manufacturer who can work with me to get those prepared and installed.
Yeah, on the product side, there's things like when he talked about the SL, it is like a kiosk product or a wall mount product. But there's lots of things that we built in the products over the years that were sort of required by kiosks. Like for instance, like a printer 5 years ago may only have one sensor around the paper and it would be paper out. So today now it's sort of default for us to have 2 built in. Now you have a near out, and a lot of that has to do with kiosks and notifying those that the paper's almost out. There's things like when the EU M30, basically an M30 product of ours, like a 3-inch receipt printer without the shell that can slide into a kiosk that's built from the ground up for it with longer feed trays and different LEDs. And so, there's a lot kind of around, like little features that we keep adding in that we're seeing that the industry needs around kiosks. And, the other part of it is we're even going on the flip side of it, of going back into like the kitchen side in hospitality, where orders are coming in from a kiosk, orders coming in from online ordering. If all of those aren't fully integrated with the point of sale, how do you display those in the kitchen? And so that's a big endeavor of ours, is sort of updating the kitchen operations with a whole lot more software rather than hardware, but paired with labeling.
Yeah, to me, Epson's always been right there, right there on the cusp of where the industry is going and developing the products that can enable that. Whether it's the color printing, which clearly they've got an advantage on, and enabling resellers to walk in, have that conversation, and have a realistic solution that can be put into place. They're there. I mean, right? Yeah. So, and not only that, but I'm going to speak to the ecosystem as well. I mean, Josh works in the ISV world. They're very in tune with the whole solution, right? Not just the hardware, but what's the ecosystem around it. And that's a differentiator, because retail establishments, hospitality establishments, they got to be, as we've discussed, they got to be cutting edge. So they got to, so a reseller has to be able to tap into that. Yeah. You can do that with the Epson partnership.
Yeah. Yeah. I always appreciate too that you guys your various printers are always high tech, cutting edge, new cool looks and stuff. Like every time I'll ask for for some
aesthetically,
ad info,
yeah.
Like every time I get a spec sheet or something, I'm always like, man, this thing just looks cool. Like the new Mobile Link, your new Mobile Link mobile printers. I just think those things look cool. Yeah. They're just a simple, cool, sleek design. It looks like modern cutting edge tech. It's meeting new needs as well as being the kind of look and feel that people expect. When you spend your life walking around with nice, slick, modern consumer devices in your pockets all the time. You don't want the industrial devices or the purpose-built devices to look like they're 30 years ago, even if it's modern technology.
Like you wouldn't like the retro dot matrix looking
not
printer?
Exactly.
No? Okay.
Or that giant cash dispenser thing that you were talking about earlier. No, I don't want that. I want something to look like it is actually modern.
There you go.
So I always appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you saying that because that's an area that I think ties into like the experience of just using the product. Like it is a device built with a purpose. However, it's sitting on your counter and it's right there. Or like on the Mobile Link series, it's portable. Like, Chick-fil-A, for example, has them. It looks like they have like 3 or 4 of them on each person there. But they use it in the drive-through. So, we appreciate that because that is an endeavor of ours, is heightening the products within point of sale to not only perform, but to be attractive and to have these, unique features. The other part is, and I'll close with this, is our iterations have changed drastically on products. So it's when I joined Epson, I've been here 5 years, we had a little bit longer of an iteration. And now today, like that's just not what the market wants. And so we're coming to market much, much faster with newer iterations.
Got to respond to those needs. That's what I'm talking about, right? The ability to do that. Yeah,
definitely. All right. Well, let's wrap up as always with our favorite segment, What's TEConnecting with You, where we get to talk about something in the world of science, tech, business, innovation that kind of caught our eye. We just want to chat about it today. So I'll let you guys start. What's TEConnecting with You right now?
Do you want to start?
I'm happy to start this one.
Okay.
So, it popped up during CES, but it resonated very much with me, right? Because growing up, one of my least favorite chores was mowing the lawn.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In Southern California, lovely climate that we have here, that chore never goes away.
Right.
And one of the things I saw was a self-driving lawnmower.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Roomba for grass. I loved it.
Yeah.
Did you get one?
I don't have one. So at the moment, I'm not in a house with a lawn, but I'm hoping to get back there soon enough. But yeah, used AI to identify, is this grass? Is this flowers? Is this a walkway? Should I be cutting here? I just love the idea of kicking that thing out on Saturday morning and not having to drag myself out there to take care of the crap.
Dude, I'm with you.
I am too. Here's my thing with it, though. I know what's going to happen is that's going to become a big thing right around the time that I would normally start asking my son to start going to the lawnmower. And I'm kind of debating, should I just still make him go through the experience for a little while?
Well, the answer there is yes.
Okay.
Because I made my son learn how to drive a car with a stick shift.
Oh, you're one of those dads.
You're one of those dads. It's going to keep it, absolutely.
I guess that's my version of one of those dads.
I don't know, David.
I like it.
Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
You could definitely have your son start a lawn mowing business now, and they don't even have to go on premise, really. They just drop it off in the neighbor's yard. So my family, that's how my chore money was: go to the neighbors and ask them if you want to mow the lawn, or if they want you to mow the lawn. Yeah. So I see this as a business opportunity for every 16-year-old.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm with you, David, but I'm not buying one until I see one actually works, because I had one of the early Roomba, whatever, and it just bonks into the wall and it tips over and it sounds out the signal like I'm stuck. And you
don't want to run it over your foot or the dog or your wife's favorite plants.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it goes over your tulips. See them once a year.
If you are or you live with a gardener, there's a big risk factor if that doesn't work correctly.
Definitely. Yeah.
Josh, what's TEConnecting with you, my man?
Well, actually, I have two things. One is, for me personally, I've been sort of a coffee connoisseur throughout my life. And so for all the coffee drinkers, this would be a real good plug for what I think is the best home coffee brewer. And it's from a brand, Café, who does a lot of appliances. But they have a Café Specialty coffee brewer that is real cool with like how the water pressure, the nozzle head, it can meet like the highest standards, like gold cup coffee standards. So, it's a pretty good coffee machine for a not so high expense. And it will deliver probably the best cup of coffee you've ever had from your home.
Nice. For those connoisseurs out there. Yes. All right. I'm looking at a picture at it. It looks pretty cool.
Wait, hold on. I got to derail this one.
Okay.
Drip coffee?
Drip coffee.
Single serve? Or full?
Well, you can do a pot.
Okay.
But yes.
Hold on. Let me borrow your pen. I got to take some notes.
Yes. Specialty Coffee Association approved and Gold Cup Standard approved. Number two is from a colleague that's in the room with us, Michael. And what he thought was interesting was, and I find this very interesting, I was at CES as well, and I'm pretty sure I saw this there, a dog babysitting robot that will basically be your dog's best friend when you're not home.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course,
I just want to be in the environment and watch how they play.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, this would have a camera so you can log on to it remotely and see how your dog's interacting with RoboDog.
There you go.
It's called Companion if anyone wants to look it up.
Oh, so it exists. It's out there right now. Okay, gotcha.
I like it. Interesting.
That would be cool.
So, we have man's best friend. Now we have dog's best friend.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to pivot out to space. Just because SpaceX continues to fascinate me, and did you see? It hasn't happened yet. By the time this podcast goes out, I think the Starship will have launched. They're doing their test. The more you look into that thing, is how fascinating is this Starship and the super heavy, the rocket that they're using for this thing is unfreaking believable. But as you look into it a little bit more, do you know what the ultimate goal here is?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this machine is going to be able to take whatever you want to call it. The Starship's going to be able to take 100 passengers at a time up to Mars. That's the ultimate goal, right? Ultimately, being able to send 1,000 or more people packed into these things every 26 months. So it's boom, 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 boom. We're just sending people up to Mars. I mean, that's the goal. But when you look at it, the Starship itself is taller than the Statue of Liberty. So the next time you see a picture of it, and you're going to see a lot of pictures of it because they're doing this testing stuff, it's like, dude, that thing is huge. And I love a rocket name called the Superheavy.
There you go. The names are always good.
Sounds like it should come with its own like metal soundtrack, right? Superheavy. Exactly.
What's TEConnecting with you, John?
All right, so Apple decided to try to get into the payments game by introducing their Apple Card.
Yes.
We always had Apple Pay, obviously, where you could connect your own credit card, but they have their own Apple Card. I never signed up for it myself yet. As much of an Apple guy as I am, I hadn't signed up for it because I didn't feel like it had any better benefits than my
Fair
current
enough.
card that I
Yep,
was using.
yep.
So, I felt like I got better cash back and all that stuff. So I didn't really justify it. Well, now Apple is launching its own savings account with 4.15% interest rate.
Ooh.
Now, I'm not sure after what we've heard from Silicon Valley banks over the last,
Yeah.
or one in particular over the last couple
you're
months.
trusting that?
I don't
Yeah.
know how I feel about a tech company getting involved in this level of finance at this point. But I mean, it sounds interesting. And basically, they're saying like it requires no minimum deposit or balance, which I think
That's
is
good.
a big plus.
Yeah.
And that's where I think they have a step up over some
Sure.
banks that
Like a
might actually
normal.
offer that kind of a interest rate as well. Any daily cash rewards from the Apple Card, which you have to have an Apple Card to sign up.
No, of course.
Any daily cash rewards earned through the Apple Card will automatically be deposited into the savings account, and you still get the up to 3% cash back on purchases with the card too. Then over 4% savings rate on top of that. They're actually they are partnered up with Goldman Sachs, so at least there's a legitimate bank
that's some
that is
legit.
backing this at least. So it's not just them trying to
We've
just
heard of them.
yeah, really. right. Still, it's interesting, and another example is this an example of tech overreach, or
I don't know. Are you moving your money?
I don't know. I mean, I look at this and I'm
know.
like, I could see sort of a benefit here. You
Sure.
know,
Is
I mean,
it FDIC insured?
Well,
then you're
I'm
good
sure
to go.
it is, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't be so sure about
Maybe
that.
not. I don't know. But I like the
fascinating.
no minimum deposit or the no minimum deposit or balance. I think is a big.
I'll tell you what. Start off with Miles. Get one open up for Miles.
Yeah,
your son.
there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's,
Give him a little
that's what a
savings
5-year-old
account
needs. An Apple. He's got like 3 piggy banks full already. So, like, hey kid, we're gonna move your money over here to get you a 4.15% interest
right.
rate.
Just wait
He's
until
gonna
he
be
asks-
like, what?
So he clearly hasn't asked you for his first phone yet. For those of us
No.
that have kids,
No.
oh yeah. See, he can start
He hasn't.
squirreling away for
We've
it.
been pretty good about keeping the phone away from him enough
Oh,
that
man.
he likes watching videos on it, but he's never had. I mean, he's got like his own little
iPad
Fire
thingy. Yeah.
tablet for
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
But he's never really asked for the phone of his own yet. So
Fair
we'll
enough.
get there.
Fair enough.
That is what's Tech Connecting with us. David Vander, Dussen, Josh Stanphill. Thank you guys so much for joining us again today.
Thanks, gents.
Thank you.
So until next time, open up a savings account with Apple. Jump on the Superheavy
SpaceX, yes.
and
Starship.
and see if you can find a kid to mow your lawn. And as always, folks, please stay connected. This episode of the TEConnect podcast is brought to you by Epson. All right, since we've been talking all about self-service
Yes.
and line busting,
Yes.
Epson always has receipt printing covered, including printers perfect for mobile POS applications. Their latest OmniLink thermal printer, the TM-M33, is a sleek and compact when counter space is at a premium, boasting support for front and top paper exits. We were just talking about
Very
that.
nice. Absolutely. Have you
Counter
seen this
space,
bad
you got to
boy?
make things look cool. Yeah,
it's nice.
These things
nice.
always look cool. Supporting MPOS means stable network tethering, and the M33 can connect to both iOS or Android devices via USB-C with speeds up to 20 megabytes per second.
Boom.
These printers available in white or black have USB-A, B, and C, along with Ethernet connections built in with optional Wi-Fi and Bluetooth available. The M33 can be the center of your customer's POS by connecting up to 2 peripherals, even delivering up to 18 watts of power to devices. How cool is
Boom.
that?
Jeez, Louise, it's like a little power station.
No doubt. You just
Yeah.
start with this, and you got everything you need.
Yeah.
It's ready for cloud printing and online ordering with server direct print, fast speeds, world-class service, and support. The M33 has it all. Contact your BlueStar Epson partner to learn more or order these printers. TEConnect Podcast is also brought to you by ELO. Self-service has never been easier. Introducing ELO's Wallaby Pro kiosk stand.
Ooh, a kiosk.
There we go. We're talking kiosks. I like to tie these things together. I don't know if you've ever
Right.
noticed. I try to match up these ads with the actual episode.
Product
so they
and
kind
whatnot.
of fit together whenever I can.
Well played, sir.
The Wallaby Pro is changing the industry by making it easier than ever to configure interactive self-service solutions. Choose from wall, counter, and floor models, engineered with configurations to fit any space in retail, restaurants, hospitality, healthcare, and corporate environments. Just add a 22, 24, or 27-inch touchscreen display. Are you looking for more options? How about a custom branded backer board?
Nice.
A ceiling pole to minimize footprint.
Nice.
And a printer, an ADA keyboard, an assist button. Use ELO's Edge Connect to attach accessories. Oh, and the Wallaby Pro stand offers easy-to-access concealed housing for a power strip, power bricks, compute devices, cables, whatever you might need.
Modular, clean, anything you need
That's
right there.
right.
Boom.
Ready to help your customers design the most customizable self-service solutions? Start with the Wallaby Pro. Contact your ELO representative to learn more. Finally, the TEConnect podcast is also brought to you by Zebra. Keeping with the retail theme here.
Yes.
85% of retail associates say they could provide a better customer experience if they had enterprise-grade mobile computers with built-in scanners to use on the job.
They only had that.
We
only had a solution for it.
I mean, we do. But that's just one. We have many solutions, actually.
Yes.
That's just one of the many findings in Zebra's new ebook, Future-Proofing Retailers, The Power of Purpose-Built Devices. The ebook explores the shift to digital technology for retailers that mirrors customer experience and expectations for making purchases, conducting research, and comparing prices. To read the ebook and learn how you can position your solutions for the modern retailer, check out the link in the show notes.